Welcome to Women Tennis USA, and I am here with you today as we take a deep look into a story that has quietly but powerfully reshaped the conversation around women's tennis in the United States. Nobody saw this coming from Alex Eala, and now even one of the most respected voices in the sport, Mary Carillo, is offering her perspective on why this moment matters far more than a single result, a single tournament, or a brief surge of attention. For a long time, Alex Eala was a name known mainly to those who followed international junior tennis closely. She was respected, certainly, but rarely discussed in mainstream American tennis coverage. She existed just outside the spotlight, developing her game, building her mindset, and learning the rhythms of professional tennis without the weight of constant media scrutiny. That quiet progression is precisely what makes the current moment so striking. There was no loud announcement. There was no dramatic unveiling. There was simply tennis, played at a level that demanded attention. The reaction from fans, analysts, and former players has been swift and, in many cases, stunned. Nobody expected this level of composure, clarity, and competitive intelligence to appear so suddenly on larger stages. What has stood out is not just that Eala is winning or competing well, but how she is doing it. Her matches have revealed a player who understands pacing, who reads patterns quickly, and who rarely looks rushed even when the tempo increases. These are qualities that usually take years of tour experience to develop, and yet she is displaying them now. Mary Carillo's response to Eala's emergence has been especially telling. Carillo is not known for exaggeration or trend-chasing commentary. When she speaks, it is usually with context, history, and a sense of perspective shaped by decades around the game. When Carillo said that Eala's on-court awareness surprised her, it resonated across tennis circles. Surprise from someone like Carillo carries weight. It signals that something real is happening, something that deserves closer examination rather than quick labeling. What nobody saw coming was the level of tactical maturity Eala has already shown. She does not rely on one dominant weapon or a single pattern to survive matches. Instead, she adapts. She adjusts her depth, varies her pace, and uses angles not to impress but to disrupt. Opponents have found themselves forced to rethink strategies mid-match, and that alone is a marker of a player who is ahead of schedule. Players do not make those adjustments unless they feel pressure. In American women's tennis, expectations are often shaped by legacy. The sport has been defined by towering figures whose achievements still echo through every new generation. That legacy is both a gift and a burden. Young players are frequently measured against icons before they are ready, and narratives are built too quickly. Alex Eala's rise feels different because it has not been framed as an attempt to replace or replicate anyone. She is not being introduced as the next version of a past champion. She is simply being recognized for what she is doing now. Mary Carillo pointed out something subtle but important when discussing Eala's demeanor. She noted that Eala appears unusually present during matches. She is not visibly consumed by frustration when points slip away, nor does she overreact to success. This emotional balance is rare, especially in players still early in their professional journey. It suggests an internal stability that cannot be manufactured through coaching alone. It comes from experience, reflection, and an understanding of the long game. Fans watching Eala for the first time often remark on how calm her body language is, even in tight moments. There is no excessive gesturing, no visible panic. Between points, she resets quickly. That ability to reset is one of the most difficult skills in tennis, and it often separates players who peak briefly from those who build sustained careers. Nobody expected this trait to be so evident so early, and that is part of why her emergence has captured attention. Another unexpected aspect of Eala's rise is how it has reignited broader conversations about player development. Her background, her training experiences, and her exposure to different competitive environments have become points of discussion not as curiosities, but as potential lessons. Coaches and analysts are asking whether traditional development models need to be more flexible, more global, and more individualized. This is not about abandoning systems, but about expanding perspectives. Mary Carillo has long advocated for appreciating different pathways in tennis, and Eala's story aligns with that philosophy. Carillo has emphasized that there is no single blueprint for success, especially in a sport as global and diverse as tennis. Eala's game reflects a blend of discipline and creativity, structure and freedom. That blend may be exactly what allows her to handle varied opponents and conditions so effectively. Within Women Tennis USA, there has been a noticeable shift in how emerging players are discussed. Instead of rushing to predict ceilings or rankings, the conversation around Eala has focused on habits. How does she construct points? How does she respond under pressure? How does she adjust when plan A stops working? These are the questions that matter, and Eala has been providing encouraging answers. The reaction from fellow players has also been telling. There is respect, but also caution. Matches against Eala are approached with seriousness. She is not treated as a wild card or an easy draw. That respect is earned, not given. It comes from the realization that she is not there to learn quietly while others dominate. She is there to compete fully, immediately. Nobody saw this coming because the tennis world often expects linear progression. It expects players to announce themselves through junior dominance, then struggle, then gradually rise. Eala has disrupted that expectation. Her progression has been quieter, less public, but no less deliberate. When she arrived in more prominent conversations, she arrived prepared. Mary Carillo has also highlighted the importance of patience in responding to Eala's success. She has cautioned against placing unnecessary pressure on a player who is still developing. This is not a finished product, and it does not need to be. The most impressive aspect of Eala's rise is not that she appears flawless, but that she appears aware of her process. She is learning in real time, without fear. From a fan perspective, Eala's matches have become must-watch not because of guaranteed outcomes, but because of the quality of thinking on display. Viewers are drawn into rallies, noticing how points are constructed rather than just who hits harder. This kind of engagement enriches the sport. It reminds audiences that tennis is not only physical, but deeply mental. As American women's tennis continues to evolve, stories like Eala's matter because they expand the imagination. They show that excellence can emerge from unexpected places, at unexpected times, and in unexpected ways. They challenge assumptions and invite curiosity. Mary Carillo's involvement in this conversation has helped ground that curiosity in realism rather than hype. Nobody is suggesting that Alex Eala's journey will be simple or uninterrupted. Tennis rarely offers such narratives. Injuries, form fluctuations, and external pressures are all part of the landscape. What makes this moment significant is not certainty, but credibility. Eala's performances have been credible. Her decisions have been credible. Her composure has been credible. That is why people are paying attention. Within Women Tennis USA, the commitment is to follow this story responsibly, with context and care. It is easy to amplify excitement, but it is more valuable to understand it. Alex Eala has given the tennis world something to understand, something to analyze, and something to appreciate. Mary Carillo's voice has helped articulate why this moment feels different, why it resonates beyond statistics. Nobody saw this coming because Alex Eala did not arrive with noise. She arrived with substance. In a sport that often rewards spectacle, she has reminded everyone of the power of clarity, patience, and intelligence. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is already clear. Women's tennis in the United States is richer for her presence, and the conversation around the sport is more thoughtful because of it. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a chapter that will be watched closely, discussed carefully, and remembered for how unexpectedly it began. Nobody saw this coming from Alex Eala, but now that it is here, nobody is looking away.